I'm calling it the modern golden age of the United States. The 2 decades from 1945 to 1965. I call this the golden age for 2 reasons. One is that, well, for people of my generation, I was born in 1953, for people of the baby boom, these are the folks who are running the country these days. These were the years of our childhood. And there is this recurrent tendency of humans to look back to a golden age. And if you quiz people, the golden age usually corresponds roughly with their childhood. When life was simpler. Well, of course life was simpler. You were 8 years old. So there's part of it. There's this thinking, oh boy, if we could just get back to the way the country was in 1950 or 1960, then all would be well. So part of it is this individual nostalgia. But part of it also is the historically anomalous position of the United States during this period from 1945 to 1965. Because in a fundamental way, the United States was the only victor of World War II. The United States was the only country that came out with a stronger economy than it went in. America's principal industrial competitors were either gravely weakened, like Britain, or absolutely demolished, like Germany and Japan. And so it was easy for the United States to embrace free trade. Yeah, level the playing field, because we've already leveled the industrial capacity of all of our competitors. And so for 20 years, until the German and Japanese economies in particular got back on their feet, free trade worked to America's benefit. And big companies like General Motors could agree to big deals with the United Auto Workers, knowing that there was no competition. If you were buying a car in the United States in 1955, it was going to be a Detroit-built car. And so there was this period. It was a golden age of the American political economy. And it was a time when somebody could graduate from high school in Pittsburgh and go to work in a steel mill in Pittsburgh and with no more education than high school, have a solid blue-collar, middle-class existence. Because Americans were competing only with themselves. And there is this belief that if somehow we could get back to that time, whether you're a supporter of organized labor, whether you're a supporter of one breadwinner in the family, whatever you might be thinking of, it's not going to happen because it was this moment of historical anomaly. It wasn't by the virtue or the particular productiveness of the American economy. It was because the rest of the world was flat on its back. And the rest of the world eventually was going to come up. So, just to point out organized labor. There were 2 decades in American history where industrial unions were strong. And those were the 2 decades of this period. Before the Second World War, industrial unions had one hell of a time. They were engaged in strikes. They had to deal with unfriendly courts. They just could not make much of a dent. But then there was this period from 45 to 65, but that was because there was this essential unspoken bargain between the big unions and big corporations. Because they could get good deals and corporations could pass the deals along to their consumers because the consumers had no choice. But once the consumers could start buying Nissans and Toyotas, then there was a choice. And the industrial unions, the deal breaks down. And so when Americans complain about globalization, well, it's partly globalization, but it's partly the fact that the world of today is not the world of 1950. And it couldn't be because the world of 1950 had been built, or I guess destroyed, by World War II. And that effect couldn't last unless, I suppose, you wanted to have a World War III and do it all over again. But fortunately, nobody's recommending that.